China's rapid rise in the electric vehicle industry is nothing short of remarkable. Once considered a developing country struggling to catch up with Western automotive giants, China is now the world leader in EV production. In 2023, it accounted for around 60% of global EV sales, surpassing the combined output of the US and Europe. A closer look at how China managed to outcompete the West reveals a combination of state-led industrial policy, massive financial subsidies, and aggressive market expansion strategies. The numbers tell a compelling story. In 2022, China's domestic EV market grew by more than 93% year-on-year, with over 6.8 million EVs sold, compared to just 3.2 million in Europe and around 800,000 in the US. Leading Chinese EV brands like BYD and NIO have been pushing into foreign markets, further consolidating their dominance. BYD, in particular, sold more than 1.86 million units globally in 2022, positioning itself as a serious competitor to legacy automakers such as Tesla and Volkswagen. Western manufacturers, long accustomed to dictating the pace of innovation in the global auto industry, have been left scrambling to keep up. At the core of China's success in the EV sector is its government's strategic intervention. Unlike in the US, where the EV market has relied heavily on individual companies like Tesla, China has created a highly coordinated ecosystem through policy. The Chinese government provided substantial subsidies, ranging from tax rebates to direct financial incentives for both manufacturers and consumers, driving demand and making EVs more affordable. Additionally, government-led infrastructure development, such as the construction of extensive EV charging networks, has played a crucial role in boosting consumer confidence. But China's dominance in the EV sector comes with a dark side, and the rapid rise has not been entirely ethical or transparent. Much of China's EV success hinges on its near monopoly over the supply chain for key materials like cobalt, nickel, and lithium, critical components of lithium-ion batteries that power electric cars. China's control over these materials has enabled its manufacturers to produce EVs at lower cost than their Western competitors. However, the manner in which these resources are obtained, particularly cobalt, paints a more troubling picture. More than 60% of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, a country plagued by poverty, instability, and human rights abuses. In regions where cobalt mining takes place, child labor and dangerous working conditions are rampant. According to Amnesty International, children as young as 7 work in hazardous conditions in unregulated artisanal mines, where they risk fatal accidents and long-term health problems from exposure to toxic cobalt dust. These artisanal mines supply up to 20% of the world's cobalt, which ends up in the supply chains of major companies, including Chinese EV battery manufacturers. The environmental impact of China's EV boom also complicates the narrative of green progress. Although electric vehicles are marketed as an environmentally friendly solution to climate change, the battery production process is energy-intensive and often fueled by coal power in China. This reliance on coal erodes the environmental benefits of EVs, making the industry less green than it appears on the surface. The fact that many of China's battery factories are powered by coal has raised questions about the overall carbon footprint of the green vehicles produced there. However, the Western EV industry is not without its own dark side. Although often presented as the more ethical alternative to China's controversial practices, Western and US-based companies face their own set of troubling issues. Tesla, for example, has long been criticized for labor practices in its US factories. Workers at Tesla's Fremont factory in California have reported harsh working conditions, long hours, and insufficient safety measures. Multiple investigations have revealed a pattern of workplace injuries and worker exploitation, including instances of racial discrimination and union-busting tactics. Tesla has also been accused of underreporting workplace injuries, particularly during the intense ramp-up of production for the Model 3 in 2017 and 2018. Furthermore, US and European companies are not immune to the supply chain issues that plague the Chinese industry. Although many Western companies have pledged to use ethically sourced cobalt, their supply chains still frequently trace back to the DRC, where child labor and unsafe working conditions are rampant. The global demand for cobalt, driven by the booming EV industry, has created intense competition for resources, leading Western companies to rely on third-party suppliers who in turn purchase cobalt from artisanal miners. As a result, the same ethical dilemmas faced by Chinese companies often apply to their Western counterparts, making it difficult for companies to guarantee that their EVs are truly free from exploitation. In addition to ethical and environmental concerns, the Western EV market is also grappling with economic pressures. Tesla, despite its success, has faced financial difficulties over the years, with frequent swings in stock prices and high production costs. Elon Musk's aggressive expansion strategy has led to criticism that Tesla is over-leveraged and prone to supply chain disruptions. The global semiconductor shortage in 2020 and 2021 hit Western automakers hard, delaying EV production and exposing the fragility of supply chains that rely on components sourced from around the world. In contrast, China's vertically integrated supply chains, where much of the production process takes place domestically, have shielded its EV manufacturers from many of these global supply disruptions. The dark side of the Western EV industry extends beyond Tesla. Volkswagen, the largest automaker in Europe, has been pushing aggressively into the EV space following the diesel emission scandal in 2015, where the company was caught rigging emissions tests. This scandal severely damaged Volkswagen's reputation and forced the company to shift focus toward electric vehicles as a way to rebuild its image. However, despite significant investment, Volkswagen and other European automakers have struggled to scale EV production as efficiently as their Chinese counterparts. In an effort to cut costs, many Western companies have also been implicated in poor labor practices in their supply chains, as well as environmental damage caused by mining for key materials. As China continues to expand its global market presence, concerns over predatory pricing practices have surfaced. By flooding markets with affordable EVs, China has been able to undercut Western competitors in key markets, particularly in developing countries. Western automakers have found it difficult to compete with the lower costs of Chinese-made EVs, raising concerns about long-term market dominance. As China pushes its EV brands into global markets, fears of economic destabilization have emerged, with some analysts warning that the aggressive expansion could lead to job losses in Western countries as automakers are forced to either lower costs or lose market share. Moreover, data privacy issues are becoming a growing concern. Many modern EVs come equipped with advanced data collection systems, tracking everything from driving habits to location data. Chinese-made EVs, which are increasingly being sold in Europe and the US, have raised red flags about the potential for espionage or data misuse. In an age where data is a valuable commodity, the prospect of Chinese companies collecting vast amounts of information from vehicles in foreign markets adds a new layer of complexity to the geopolitical competition between China and the West. Ultimately, while China has clearly beaten the West in terms of EV production and market share. Both sides of the industry face significant ethical, environmental, and economic challenges. China's state-led approach, combined with strategic control of raw materials, has given it a dominant position, but this success has come at the cost of human rights abuses and environmental degradation. Meanwhile, Western automakers, although often seen as more ethical, are grappling with their own dark side, from exploitative labor practices to an underdeveloped recycling infrastructure. As the EV market continues to grow, addressing these challenges will be crucial to ensuring that the industry's future is not only green, but also ethical and sustainable.